Good afternoon, everyone. I have goosebumps just seeing all of my colleagues' photos up there on the screen. It makes me proud to be at the Atlanta Council. Welcome to our second Meet the Council event. My name is Damon Wilson. I'm Executive Vice President at the Council. And we hosted our inaugural Meet the Council a few weeks ago for Black History Month. And today's session is in honor of Women's History Month, as you may have taken away from those welcoming photos. So Meet the Council is an event series that's hosted by our Office of Human Resources and our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council. It is our team talent. This series promotes the work and the opportunities at our organization, and it focuses on engaging historically marginalized groups in foreign affairs as we build a staff and a community that better reflects the diversity of our nation and our world. So in a moment, we'll introduce today's panelists, some terrific colleagues of mine who will have an opportunity to share their personal experiences, talk about their career paths, answer your questions about the council. But for those of you who might be new to us, you might be thinking, what is a think tank? What do they do at the Atlanta Council? I try to think about how I explain this to my family members who really don't know what a think tank is. Well, we are a nonprofit, non-governmental organization focused on foreign affairs. We are in the business of ideas. Our mission is to shape the global future together. And what that means is that we galvanize constructive US engagement in the world, working alongside allies and partners to tackle the most serious global challenges. We're a place of strategy, results, and problem solving. Through the papers we write, the ideas we generate, the leaders we foster, and the communities we build, the Council develops strategies and solutions to ensure a more free, secure, and prosperous world. So this is not just about academic debates. And this year marks our 60th anniversary of our founding. And in that time, we have grown dramatically. We're the fastest growing institution of our kind in Washington, and we've expanded to work on many issues. However, our North Star has remained constant, working alongside friends and allies to shape a global future. The Atlanta Council has always been a place where Americans were working with others. There were never any foreigners. That's been the historic diversity of the Atlanta Council. But last spring, we launched our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council, co-chaired by Clintandra Thompson, our moderator today, and Paige Ennis, the dynamic duo running this effort. And I want to give a shout out to all the team members who have done such tremendous work on the council. We've just completed our first comprehensive demographic survey, the results of which we'll soon publish on the council website. And while we're quite pleased with our gender balance across the organization, we recognize, like most organizations, we've got some work to do across key demographics. And that's part of why we're here tonight. We are committed to strengthening a culture that celebrates diversity, that strives for equality, and that breaks down barriers in pursuit of inclusion. We believe that only an organization that reflects the world around it and that acknowledges historic inequities, structures, and biases that perpetuate them to this day can work to dismantle these barriers to progress and thus help shape a better, more just future. Our mission is global, but our work begins at home. And this newest series is part of that effort of reaching out to diverse communities and to introduce them to the council, our team, the culture of our Atlanta Council, to our Atlantic Council family. So thank you for joining us for this important conversation. And thank you to my colleagues or team members who've made this possible. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Clintandra Thompson, who's the creator of this event series, a close colleague of mine who also happens to hail from South Carolina and is a moderator for today's conversation. So Clintandra, take it away.
Thank you so much, Damon, and welcome everyone to the Women's History Month edition of Meet the Council. We hope to give you some really good information today about what it is to work at the Atlanta Council, to partner with the Atlanta Council, to fund the Atlanta Council, and just who we are and just the spirit of the Atlanta Council. We are celebrating this year our 60th year. Our 60th anniversary is this year. We're a foreign policy think tank. We have real world impact through world-class research, innovative methods, and engagement with our stakeholders. We produce reports that inform solution-oriented policy outcomes. We host roundtables to connect decision makers across government and industry, and we analyze the world around us while advocating for constructive US engagement. Charity Navigator has awarded the Atlanta Council a 4-star rating, the highest possible rating indicating that we are an accountable, transparent, and financially healthy nonprofit organization. According to the University of Pennsylvania's annual survey, we are one of the top 50 think tanks worldwide in 2020, top 10 of the 2020 rankings for foreign policy and international affairs think tanks. We're in the top 10 think tanks to watch in 2020. As Damon stated, our diversity speaks to us in the different languages that we speak, the different political views that we hold. We come from different national, religious, and ethnic backgrounds. We're taking steps to ensure that our community is more diverse. We are improving diversity across race, gender, religion, national origin, sexual orientation or identity, and political views at all levels. We are evaluating our talent pipeline and internship program and our leadership team, managers, senior fellows, external experts, board of directory, and advisory councils. Just to give you an idea of some of the things that we have going on at the council, one of our recent events was Mujeres at the Table: How Women's Leadership Can Bridge Divides, and we recently hosted Nobel Laureate Nobel laureate Malala Yousafzai on education for all girls. One of our upcoming events is going to be held on Tuesday, March 23rd at 12 noon. And this event is entitled Women's Gains in Afghanistan, Leadership and Peace. Again, that event will be held on Tuesday, March 23rd, and you can register on our website. To give you an idea of some of the reports that we've recently published and some of our reports that we've recently published, one of those is the NATO Partnerships for Women, Peace, and Security, and why women must be at the center of the G20 agenda. The links to those pieces of content as well as events will be found in the chat. I also invite you to please give us your questions by using the Q&A function in the chat. If you would like to tweet about this event or put it on your Facebook or Instagram, please do use the hashtag #StrongerWithAllies. The Atlantic Council is found on a host of social media platforms, including LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. As always, please engage with us. Let us know your questions. Like I said, we will be hosting and reading off some of the questions that you'll be sending in using the Q&A feature to those of you who have registered. And we'll ask the questions that you will be submitting later in the program. To start off, I'm going to kick it to one of my colleagues. This is Kathy Boffman McLeod, and she's going to give you a little bit of information about who she is and what she does. Again, my name is Clintandra Thompson. I'm the web manager at the Atlantic Council. I'm also one of the co-chairs of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council, and I have been at the council now for 2 years. I'm going to kick it off to Kathy. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Thank you, Clintandra, and thank you, Damon. I'm Kathy Boffman McLeod, and I'm the director of the Adrienne Arsht Rockefeller Foundation Resilience Center, and I'm a senior vice president at the Atlantic Council. And I want to tell you a little bit about the center and then say a little bit about being a woman at the Atlantic Council, being a woman at work. And I wish this were a more, it was easy for us to do some polls and we were in person, so I could ask you to raise your hand, because a lot about being a woman at work is about shared experiences. And I'd love to ask some questions, and I still will, and maybe we can generate some of the conversation for the chat time. The Adrienne Arsht Rockefeller Foundation Resilience Center is focused on bringing resilience to, and we've set a goal of reaching 1 billion people around the world with resilient solutions to climate change, human migration, and the related human security challenges like public health and food insecurity. And when we say resilient, we make you resilient, what we mean is you are better prepared for, better withstanding, and recovering from shocks and stresses. And so we know that women are disproportionately impacted by climate change, by migration, and by all of these challenges. Lots of statistics to show that. But I want to say that in addition to these fantastic reports and insightful policy recommendations and the events that we host, we also meet people where they are on the ground in places. And we use storytelling to share the way that people get through these crises and the things that are not just climate change, but now things stacked on top of each other, like climate change and the economic impacts of COVID-19 and food insecurity and more. And so we are a bit of a hybrid model at the Atlantic Council. And so we work on the ground in communities with people. We also work on big lever financial and policy solutions for helping protect people from these shocks and stresses. And just talking about the role that this plays a little bit, our team is a 15-member team, and 4 of my team are men and the rest are women. And so we are a female forward team. And that is interesting to us because it's not that women are better equipped to handle these issues of climate change and migration and these other challenges, but they do disproportionately affect women. But if we help women, we help everyone, and lots of data shows that. And so we have a gender policy at the Resilience Center here. It is operational. It's about how we communicate what we do and the words that we use. When we are hiring, and one of my colleagues, Fernanda Mareas here, she put our job descriptions, which I want to share with you, through a gender decoder, and we found our job description had words that were coded to masculine and words that were coded to feminine, and we gender neutralized our job descriptions, and we're really proud of that. And we also, in our programming, we are focused on understanding the differences of how the work impacts women and men and more. And so soon that policy will be on our website, and so you can look at it yourself. Women are 14 times more likely to die in a disaster. And as a Resilience Center, that's really an important focus of ours. And the thing I want to leave you with as we get into the conversation is a lot of this is generational, to be a woman at work and then to be a woman at the Atlantic Council. I show up as a woman at the Atlantic Council. I wore pink on purpose today. I can talk about my kids. My team and I tear up when we meet and we support each other. We value emotional intelligence and being able to talk about feelings. And for the longest time, and this, I can reveal my age when I talk about this, I had to come to work as a man. I had to show up as a man. I had to act like a man. I was asked to be more aggressive. I was asked to be less aggressive. I was asked to be demure and to accommodate. And those are, we have gender behaviors, and it's not just that the person, it's even women display gendered behaviors. And so I come to work at the Atlantic Council as a woman, and I act like a woman. And my team, you can act like whatever you want to act like, but I don't have to be a man at work. And I value that immensely. And I think lots of women can tell stories about how they come to work as a man, and that's not the case. And it is it's a wonderful thing because it means you get more work done to be who you are and to come as your whole authentic self. And we value that at the Atlantic Council. We value that in my center. And I look forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathy. I totally agree with you that I definitely feel and echo your statement that you can show up how you are and who you are, whether that's based on your sexuality, whether that's based on your sexual identification, your race, your religion. I definitely agree with you there. I'm next going to switch to my colleague, Kelsey Henquinet, and she is with the Digital Forensics Lab. Off to you, Kelsey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Clintandra, and thank you so much for including me in today's event. Hi, everyone. My name is Kelsey Henquinet, and I work for the Digital Forensic Research Lab, or DFR Lab as it is commonly referred to. The DFR Lab is a center at the Council that has operationalized the study of digital information to promote transparency and accountability online and around the world. The team is known for identifying disinformation, documenting human rights abuses, and promoting objective fact through open source research. Our team is studying, reporting on, and advancing solutions for disinformation, democratic information spaces, and the challenges to human rights posed by tech in society. disinformation and online harms disproportionately impact women, and the work of the DFR Lab and the greater disinfo research community is critical to addressing these issues. On the team, I have the privilege of coordinating global operations and logistics for the team. I work closely with our management team, global research team, and then the broader Atlantic Council. I also coordinate events and help bring our research to a wider audience to move these discussions forward. Following the fantastic words of my co-panelist Kathy, I'm really excited to talk about my experience as a woman at the Atlantic Council. I have been here for 2.5 years, the first year being on the events team, and then the second 1.5 years being with the DFR Lab. And I've had the privilege of seeing how the growing number of women and our junior staff has created and cultivated an incredible community of developing our professional experiences and being able to lean on each other in the greater foreign policy and security world. And so I'm really excited to dive into that with the rest of our panelists.
Thank you so much for that, Kelsey. We're next going to speak with my colleague Valentina Sater. She's with the Adrienne Arsht Latin America Center, and she'll give you her background and how long she's been with the council and her various roles here at the council. Off to you, Valentina.
Thank you, Clintandra. Thank you, everyone. It's very nice to be here. It's a pleasure to have this conversation with you, Clintandra, and other amazing women from the council. It's an honor. So thank you for thinking of me and for having me here today. I am Valentina Sader. I am an assistant director at the Adrienne Arsht Latin America Center, where I lead our work on Brazil and gender equality and diversity. So it's great. This conversation couldn't be better, and the timing is also perfect for us to have this conversation. So it's really, I'm excited to dive into today's conversation. I actually started at the council almost 3 years ago as an intern. So I did have that experience of beginning as an intern and then growing into our work. But I can testify from my own experience that the council also, as my colleagues have suggested, you not only have the opportunity and the ability to come to work as a woman, but also as someone young and coming out of college as well. You have the chance of taking very, very important responsibilities throughout the work that you do. So at the Latin America Center, we are also a majority female team, and that goes from leadership to interns. The Latin America Center focuses on Latin America and Caribbean's strategic role in a global context, with a priority on pressing political and economic issues that will define the trajectory of the region now and in the years ahead. We prioritize focusing on Latin America and the Caribbean as a key player in the international stage. And since the center was founded in 2013 by Adrienne Arsht, we have prioritized countries and regions like Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, Venezuela, the Northern Triangle, and the Caribbean, as well as cross-cutting issues like energy, China's role in the region, now COVID-19, and of course, gender equality and diversity. So I'm very excited to be able to discuss a little bit more about what it's like to work at the Atlantic Council and to work at the council being a woman. And I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you, Clintandra.
Thank you, Valentina. Very good remarks. We're next going to have Ambassador Rama Yad to introduce herself. She's with the Africa Center. Off to you, Rama. May want to.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm very, very, very happy to be with my colleagues from the Atlantic Council today. Thank you for having me, for inviting me. I have been working for the Atlantic Council since 2 years now as a senior fellow, and daily active since a few weeks. I'm very proud and blessed to join that wonderful family. Really, as you may know, I don't come from the United States. I come from two countries, France and Senegal. And since the first day I arrived here, I have been really blessed because I have met so many wonderful people, and women are particularly nice, skilled, and I really recognize myself in the way they see their job, and they act. Here it is a culture, it is a family. That is what strikes me most. And I have the privilege to belong to two centers, Europe Center and Africa Center. And in that moment, when we are living so many changes in the world, I'm really lucky to be a part of this huge family. As a woman, that is the question. It is a tough question because, you know, um, I belong to teams where we have men, we have women, and we try not to define people with their gender, their race, their origin, their age. Personally, I don't like boxes because it's a way to limit us, and people may have some bias about you. So it's important to be a woman, but more to be free. And what is the most important for me is to believe in women, is to believe in people, and I hope that we will reach that moment, that very important moment when women could be judged by what they are doing, and not just because they are regarded as belonging to a gender. So that's my main message. Thank you for the time being.
Thank you, Ambassador Watt, for those remarks. We also are going to have remarks from my colleague in Human Resources, Fernanda Mirales, apologies. And she's going to give us a little bit of information, not just about herself and her work, but also about uh, what everyone's wondering about, how to work with the Atlantic Council. So I'm going to kick it off to you, Fernanda. Thank you. You want to unmute yourself? We love Zoom. We do, all of us, don't we?
Yes, yes. It's the 2020, 2021 Zoom thing. Again, I'm muted now. Thank you, Clintandra. It's a pleasure to be here sharing this conversation with wonderful women, wonderful co-workers. My name is Fernanda Meirelles. We're very close. I've been with the council for 3 months now, and I joined as a talent acquisition specialist. I'm so happy to be here working as a recruiter. I've been in the US for 7 years now, almost 7 years, and my work as a recruiter, as a woman here at the Atlantic Council, and I take this as a personal mission, is to provide the greatest pool of candidates to hiring managers. And I can say here, the talent acquisition team, with partnership with the D&I Council, we strategic analyze our data, we evaluate our job postings, who we attract, how can we increase, how to make more impactful and educated decisions. We diversify our job boards. We announce our openings in places that they're not the common ones, so we can ensure to reach different communities, different people. We partner with HBCUs, with minority association, with minority groups, and to expand the council's relationship and outreach in our recruiting efforts. And also, as Kathy mentioned, thank you, Kathy, we have a process internally to review all our job posting and position descriptions to ensure they are all gender neutral. So anyone reading our postings can imagine themselves performing that job. And we review our D&I efforts constantly. We ensure alignment with our talent diversity statement, the fairness and transparency throughout this entire process. And this is what I take as a mission and as a talent acquisition in the Atlantic Council. And speaking of openings, today we have 10 openings from director level positions to entry level in multiple programs and centers. We are also accepting applications to our young professionals program until next Friday, March the 16th. All 17 programs and centers are accepting interns for our summer cohort. So a lot of good opportunity there. We also have openings to our fellowship programs, and today, as of today, we are accepting application to our Women's in Energy Fellowship and our Millennial Leadership Fellowship. So go to our website, check out the great information we post there. We also have information on all programs and centers so you can familiarize and learn more about us. And if right now we have no openings that fits what you're looking for, I would say please follow us on social media. We are on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. I think I said it all. And every time we have an opening, we update all our social medias, we spread the word, and feel free to add us on LinkedIn and follow us on our platforms and keep this conversation going. This is a very important event. This is very important conversations that we have at the Meet at the Council. So thank you for being here and thank you for having me here. Back at you, Clintandra. Thank you.
Thank you, Fernanda, for your comments. Ambassador Yod had touched on this, and I'd like for Kathy and Valentina to expand upon. The Atlantic Council has a AC Women affinity group. Can you give us a little bit more information about just generally what that network is like and what some of those programs are like? I'm sorry, Kathy, if you can speak to that first, and then we'll go to Valentina.
So I am relatively new to the Atlantic Council, and so in terms of the women's affinity group, I have so far it's been an email affinity group for me, so I have not been able to attend any of the programs, but I know that some folks that have been here longer, Kelsey and Valentina, could share more detail about what those programs are like. So over to you, Vale.
I can answer that question as well, Clintandra, because I know that I've been here for a little almost 3 years now, and I know that I participated even before pandemic times when we could actually be in person. I did attend a few of the events that we have at Women at the Council, and I know that these conversations are normally put together for us women at the council to one, get together, but second, to also hear from different women at the council that have had different experiences in the field of foreign affairs, but also external guests to discuss their, talk a little bit about their own experiences as professionals, as women professionals, but also to give us some idea and some thoughts, answer our questions, because don't we all have questions about our next steps in terms of our careers and our experiences? So those events have definitely been amazing to me in particular. Personally, I attended a few of those when I had just began as an intern at the council, and I know that those were really refreshing to see and to learn from other women about the next steps and the opportunities that there are for women, and for me in particular in terms of foreign affairs, in being a woman, but also being young in the early stages of my career, being from Brazil and not from the United States, having had that experience as a migrant. I think that is very complementary and it helps us with our daily job. So I think that it's also a way of bringing together the community and listening from other experiences and other stories and connecting as well through that.
Thank you, Valentina. I really appreciate those comments. There's a photo that I found somewhere in our archives, and it's just a really interesting photo. It had, I think it was 3 women through various levels of the council here, and they're laughing at an event. They're at an event together, and obviously someone in the photo had said something humorous, but the picture just really struck a chord to me because you could see in that photo that there was a level of professional sisterhood, if you will, and that there was a level of mutual respect for one another's opinion and one another's experience. I'll have to just find that photo and post it somewhere one of these days. It was a really nice photo. Ambassador Yad, if you don't mind giving us just a little bit of a taste of what does it feel like to be a fellow? What is that experience like? What are you contributing to? What are you working on as a senior fellow with one of our programs, the Africa Center?
Yeah, thank you, Kitanda, for your question. It is very interesting to answer a question that may seem simple, but for the rest of the world, it's not simple to know what a senior fellow is, because it's very American. In France and Senegal, we don't have the same system. We have some think tanks, but it does not work like the American think tank. So I have discovered the role of senior fellow this last month, and every day I learn. That is a professional, skilled. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about an average senior fellow is someone who is very skilled, a man or a woman, who has some experience to testify from. We contribute by writing in newspapers, outlets, American or foreign. We give our opinion on foreign policy, what we would like to see, to explain, to better understand, what are our views about some field, some case, some issue. Since we are skilled in a field, the fact is we write on op-eds, for example, on a very specific issue. As for me, when I arrived in the Atlantic Council as a member of the Africa Center, I have written many op-eds about sports as a level for development in Africa, education for girls in Africa. I have worked on human capital, for example, human rights. Since when I was in France, I was a French member of the cabinet as Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs and Human Rights. And my priority then was to work on women's rights. I regarded, human rights as, first of all, women's rights. So we work on issues we are skilled on, and that is very important to be believed, to be heard, because we are professionals. So we can take part in panels, conferences. We can go on television, on the radio, to talk about the news, about foreign policy in Africa, in the United States, and everywhere in the world. So it is a very interesting job, and just a call, we need more senior fellows at the Africa Center. So if you are very skilled and interested, men or women, you can come. We can come. We are waiting for you. That's done.
Thank you, Ambassador Yad. Appreciate that. We're going to switch back over to Kathy in just a moment, but before I do that, please do drop any questions that you have for any of our panelists in the Q&A feature. And again, if you are following us on social media, please use the hashtag #StrongerWithAllies. Kathy is our Senior Vice President, and she's the Director of the Adrienne Arsht Rockefeller Center Resilience Center. And Kathy, just what is a day in the life of like in your role? You're one of the managers here at the Atlantic Council. What types of skills, if someone, I think we have one or two director positions available that we're hiring for, what skills would someone need to consider bringing into that role? Would a woman need to bring into that role if they were considering applying for one of those positions?
Well, first I would like to talk about the opportunity to be a female director at the Atlanta Council or in any institution. And one of the nuances to being senior, being female, is that you have the opportunity to model behavior, and you can pave the way and show that if you act like this, you are, this is what it looks like. This is what a director acts like. Doesn't matter what your gender is. But as a woman, that is, it's an opportunity because it shows younger professionals and women and men that this is how women act at work. And so some of those behaviors are more comfortable for a senior person, a senior woman, because you have built capital in the organization. And so when you're younger, you're still building your reputation, your credibility, and your capital. When you get to be senior in an organization, and sometimes it's not about age. There are a lot of senior people who are young, a lot younger than I am. But the point is, you can use that seniority and use that position to model behavior for other women, to know how to speak out, to know how to lean in at the table, take a seat at the table when you come in the room. Don't apologize for things you're not sorry for or that you didn't do. Lots of things. We could spend a whole session on those sorts of things, on just cues that we give, and putting yourself in a position of strength, and just being there for the work and the contributions you have. It's not about your gender. And there are lots of mini behaviors and microaggressions and all those sorts of things that we pick up on, and we learn culture when we're in a place. And so the opportunity for a senior woman is to say, I'm not going to display those behaviors. I'm going to display functional behaviors in the way that I want the people around me to behave. And so it's a privilege, and it's also a responsibility as a senior woman in any organization and at the Atlanta Council. The skills that you need at the Atlanta Council to be the director of any program in what I would describe as a somewhat matrixed, federated, and independent system of the Atlanta Council is you need to be able to lead across an organization. You've got to lead up, you've got to lead down, and you've got to lead with influence, oftentimes without direct responsibility. It's entrepreneurial by nature. You've got to be able to take care of your own business. You've got to have communication skills. You've got to be able to read the room, have some political orientation of not capital P, but a lowercase p. You need to be able to prioritize. There's too much work in a day. What's the most important thing? And we often, just as humans, get caught up in things. And there's a bunch of reasons for that. We could have a whole session on that. We get caught up in things, and you have to stay ruthlessly prioritized to be successful and reach your goals. And so you need a multitasking, highly emotionally intelligent communicator with interpersonal skills and the ability to manage your own business, raise your money, manage your teams, and stay focused at the same time on what you're trying to achieve.
Thank you for that answer, Kathy. We are now going to answer some of the questions that's popped up in our Q&A. One of the first questions that we have is going to go to Fernanda. And that question is, do you offer fellowships to current federal employees? Fernanda?
Unmute myself again. I would say yes as my first answer. You might have to check with your own employer, and if you sign any agreement, if that it's allowed to you. But from a fellowship perspective, to work at the Atlanta Council and participate in our fellowship, yes.
Thank you, Fernanda. The next question is for you as well. The question is, I saw that you have age limits. Why is that? Is there an age limit for some of the fellowships in general or for any of the positions?
So the age is related to the Millennial Fellowship. It's more related to your early career. Those fellowship programs, they are target young professionals. So those ages, it's more related to people that are starting their careers right now and give them a boost and a career development and really invest on themselves. More so folks that are early on in their careers that might not think this is applicable to them. But if you think it is applicable to you, let us know. During your application, there is a cover letter, a writing sample. Tell us why you should be chosen, why you think the fellowship one of our fellowship is applicable to you, even though you're not in this age limit. We do have exceptions.
Thank you, Fernanda. The next question is going to go to Kelsey. Kelsey, can you give us your experience with diversity, equity, and inclusion at the council? I know that you, before you started in your current position, you were with the events team. Can you just give us your own personal story about diversity, equity, and inclusion at the council, and then expand upon your experience as a woman at the Atlanta Council?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for that question. I would say for me personally, I feel extremely lucky to be on a team that values diversity of voices in gender, race, ethnicity, nationality, really running the gamut. Our team includes powerhouses who live in 11 different countries that span 5 continents. So we have a really unique position at the council of having a really inclusive set of voices. But of course, that said, we can always do better at our team and at the entire council. I do work in a field that is rich with diversity, but as I mentioned earlier, women are often targeted of uniquely gendered disinformation, where propagandists use gender to delegitimize women's voices online. And this issue, I must say, is tenfold when speaking specifically about women of color. So I think that at the DFR Lab and at the Greater Atlanta Council, it is our responsibility to lift up, to cite, and to credit experts who are working on these issues, who do identify as women. And I think then to your second question about my experience as a woman at the council, I alluded to this earlier, but I do feel very lucky as a more junior staffer at the council. We do have a wide range of women at these positions across all of our teams. And I think that that's created a really incredible community of younger women and young professionals who are really leaning on each other to, I think as Kathy had said, kind of following the women who are in leadership positions or creating a community within our teams to really be able to push our work forward, check in with each other, make sure that people are feeling comfortable. I think that there really is value in reading each other's emails or getting a quick check on tone or vibe or things like that. And it's something that's really fantastic to be cultivated at the council. Going on to the other piece of your question, with my experience at the events team, I'll take this opportunity to talk about a policy that was started at the Atlanta Council a number of years ago by women in leadership positions at the council who saw that there was a gap with voices that we were lifting up, and people that we were including on each panel. And so we those leaders a few years ago decided that we would have a policy of no manels at the council, or no panels that were entirely made up of just men or just male identifying voices. And that is something that we expect all of these centers and programs that are hosting events to hold to make sure that women are included on each panel, not just as the moderator, though that is an important role, but making sure that we are relying on women not just to speak about their experience as women in the field, but because they're experts, and including expert voices, no matter who they are, but making sure that we are lifting up women. And I think that the next step on that path, it's a fantastic policy, but then the next iteration and the next way that the council can move forward is also making sure that we have an element of race and ethnicity and nationality that are also enforced across our panels.
Thank you, Kelsey. Looking at the questions and answers, it looks like there's a bit of confusion between what the Atlanta Council calls a fellow. So I'm going to kick it to my colleagues, both Fernanda and Valentina. I'm going to start with Valentina to address what a certain type of fellow is. And these types of fellows, there's an application that's open now that we mentioned at the top of the program. That's for the Women Leaders in Energy Fellowship. That's one type of fellow. Those may or may not have age limits. And then there's another type of fellow that Fernanda will expound upon that are kind of what Ambassador Yad was referring to earlier regarding to different types of fellows. So Fernanda and Valentina, if you don't mind clarifying the different types of fellowships that we have here. Valentina?
Yeah, I can definitely start and share a little bit about the fellowships that we have within the Latin America Center. So those differ from, we have the Rio Bravo Congressional Fellowship and the Venezuela Congressional Fellowship, which is a fellowship that you apply to be a part of and has a time limit. I know that we are going to the second cohort of our Rio Bravo Congressional Fellowship, and then we have the non-resident senior fellows. So, given that we are a Washington based organization and the Latin America Center focuses on Latin America and the Caribbean, we also use and take advantage of friends and allies at the region, in the region, to, have insight from what is happening in country, to talk to them and have a presence on the ground. So that's one way, and that's another kind of fellowship that we have. So we have a few fellows that are represented, or non-resident senior fellows that are country specific. So we have for Venezuela, we have for Brazil, we have for Mexico. So those differ in that sense, but I'm sure Fernanda can give you a better understanding or a more holistic overview of what the fellowship look like.
Of course. Thank you so much, Valentina. I think you did a great job explaining some of the fellowships in the Latin America. We also have fellowships in other programs and centers, and they are very specific program based, and you apply to them. We open applications online and we leave them open, and you just submit your application. You're passed through a recruiting process or um, recruiting process. For example, the Women's in Energy, the deadline closes tomorrow. So those are more based on your career development and a specific program or a type of period that an opening for a program, right? And of course, I'm confusing myself here. The non-residential fellow, you are a subject matter expert on the ground, like Valentina said. You are not sometimes not even based here in the US. You're on the ground in our allies, and it's more a partnership between the Atlantic Council and you, and the application process is a different. You are someone from the Atlantic Council submits your name to be a non-resident fellow. So I guess that's the main difference between one you were nominated, the other one you applied for.
That's correct, Fernanda. Thank you so much for clarifying, Valentina, as well. We if you have any questions about becoming a fellow, either a non-resident senior fellow or a resident senior fellow, or one of our program fellows, email hr@atlanticcouncil.org for more information if you desire to apply for something or if you need some more information. There's another question that's coming in from the floor, and that question is also for Valentina. Could you speak about your experience navigating foreign affairs as a young woman?
Yes, I can definitely speak of that. And that's actually one of the things that, as Kathy was talking about her experience as a director, I also thought that this was something that was applicable to every level in different, of course, differentiating your seniority within the council, but still applicable. And I know, Clintandra, that you had also asked about what we thought would make a good candidate for the Atlantic Council. And as I was thinking about my answer, I thought of collegiality and being passionate about the job that you're doing. And to me, that is because we are very collaborative in everything that we do. And maybe it has to do with the way that we are structured by teams and regions, as well as the culture of the organization, of course. And passionate because it's a challenging job. In a good sense, it's very fast paced, it's demanding of time and dedication, but it's also extremely rewarding from a very early stage. And if you allow me, I wanted to share a story from when I began at the council. It was actually my first event at the council. I think I had started that week and as an intern, and it was Friday at about 4 p.m. And we had just confirmed a very high level private event with a government official from Colombia for that following Monday. So we had that Friday and the weekend to prepare for it. And in a matter of an hour, I had to learn to send a mail merge with an invitation to a very select group of invitees to putting together an agenda and a moderator's guide. So everything was ready to go for Monday. It was a lot. It was a lot. But it was so rewarding. It was so rewarding that on Monday evening, when all guests left very happy with the conversation and my team left so thankful for how successful the event turned out to be, and I felt my job and that what I had to do at a very early stage in my career within the council, having such an impactful and such a successful way of ending the day and impactful to the job that we were doing. And that was something that was constructed through a very long time. Projects normally take a very long time to be put together, and the way that we shape and influence public policy and conversations around these issues are so important. And to see that as an intern, I had a little part and played a little small role in making that happen and making it successful was extremely rewarding. And I will say that as a young professional in early career of my stage, a junior staff, like Kelsey mentioned, I definitely had my voice heard. And this was something that I always appreciated about the Atlantic Council, and particularly about the Adrian Arch Latin America Center, the team there, and Jason Marzak, our director, because always they were always very welcome to listening to our opinions, to our voices, to our thoughts on issues that were of major importance to our center and to the work that we were doing. So always very heard, but very, very passionate about the work that we are doing.
Thank you, Valentina. The next question is going to go to Ambassador Yad. This is a question coming from the floor asking about to be a part of the Africa Center or the Europe Center, do you have to live in Africa or do you have to live in Europe? You're muted, sorry.
Okay. Neither in Africa nor in Europe. I am in Washington, D.C. So, but it's better to have lived there in your life before, to have a concrete experience of what Africa is, what Europe is. I mean, before all, a culture. You know, you have to feel people, you have to know them, to have important connections with business leaders, political leaders, civil societies, and to understand how people of those countries think and appreciate their future. You know, now in this period, COVID virtual period, no matter where you are, since you work from your home, but really, it's important. I'm very lucky to be a part of the Europe and the Africa Center. I'm not sure there are so many fellows or senior fellows who belong to many centers in the same time, but that's something, you know, I feel that's something very interesting because the world is now a global village. I have to work on climate change, on migrations, on the pandemic, on the vaccination, on debt, and all those issues are global issues. All the continents are concerned about those issues. So it's very important to have a foot here and another foot there. That's why I'm lucky, because we are, you know, we are not so many people who can speak from every continent in the world. That is something extraordinary. And I feel very lucky. But really, I have lived in Senegal for my first 10 years. And I have always traveled there. I have a part of my family there. And I work with many African partners from Africa. About Europe, I have spent the majority of my life in Europe. I started my career there. I was a politician in France, and now I am being more and more familiar with the United States. And I think it's very important to have skills and knowledge about all these parts of the world.
Thank you, Ambassador Yad. We have one last question. This question is going to go back to you as well. And it's similar to the question that we have for Valentina. Could you speak about your experience navigating foreign affairs as a woman?
Who is starting?
This one's for you and you only.
Okay. So my experience as a woman in foreign affairs, foreign affairs, it's hard power. It's for men. It's like military, security, defense things. It's the field of men, because it's the field of negotiations, of talks, of high-level summits with head of states, with ministries, secretary of states, business leaders. So many men in that very specific word. It's the word of people who run the world. But if you look at the situation today, there are so many women who are leading. Mrs. Ngozi, she is the head of the WTO, recently appointed. You have elected even. She was elected. She was not appointed. And then you have Christine Lagarde for the European Bank. You have Kristalina Georgieva. She is running the IMF. We have the feeling that women are leading this world because they are at the very top of the most important organization in the world. So that's why I count on them at a very high level, because they have the means to change the world. In my position as Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs and Human Rights, it was a tough job because, I tried to promote, one of my first priorities was to promote women's rights through that high-level position in the world. I was working on women who are forced to be married in Afghanistan. I worked on education for girls in Africa. Girls who are, taken as soldiers, even if they are not 18, in war zone like DRC or Liberia, so many countries. And it was very difficult to make my colleagues understand that you have to work on this, because the only thing they wanted to focus on was military, security, and diplomatic matters. And for me, that question of women, young girls, it is a question of security. It is a military problem. It is a matter of security for the world, because they were in danger in conflict zone, and that the most important thing is to understand that when you want to break a society or a community, you start with women and girls, and you are sure to reach your goal. Because after that, when you use rape, for example, in the war zones, the problem is you break not only that girl, that woman, but entire communities for many decades. And that's what I saw on the ground in so many countries. And what I was trying to do is to explain people at that level that it's important to struggle for this. So for me, being a woman in foreign affairs, it is also this sorts of struggle. And that is very, very important to change things when you are a woman in an important position. Otherwise, it's pointless to be there.
If I can jump in, Clintandra, actually, I wanted to just, going off of that, just say that this is exactly the reason why at the Latin America Center we launched for the month of March this campaign about bringing more women to the decision-making table. So I want to encourage everyone to follow the hashtag Mujeres at the Table to see a little bit more about what it is that we are doing through the entire month of March and after and beyond March as well. But we are aiming to highlight women's leadership and efforts toward gender equality while also promoting a constructive dialogue for some of the most pressing challenges that women face daily in the Americas. And this is particularly important at now during COVID because women must be back in the workforce. They must be in government. They must be in businesses. And most important, if not the key, is to be at the decision making table so we can try to solve so many of these issues that are gender based. So I just wanted to ask everyone to follow our hashtag to join the conversation as well. And that ranges from girls' education to Indigenous women to economic empowerment and beyond.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Yad and Valentina. You guys have been amazing. That was the perfect icing on the cake of this particular event. Thank you so much to everyone who has participated. Thank you so much to David Wilson, who opened us and started with the wonderful introductory remarks. And to my fellow panelists, Kathy Botham-McLeod, Kelsey Hinquinet, Valentina Satter, Ambassador Rama Yad, Fernando Morales, and also thank you to Denise Forstuber, to Samantha Treman, to Will O'Brien, and to my fellow co-chair of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council, Paige Is. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time, and thank you for participating in the Women's History Month edition of Meet the Council. Thank you so much for your time.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Good to see everybody.
Thank you.